incredible story behind Govardhana Puja. It's a festival that celebrates a young boy, a very angry god, and a mountain that, believe it or not, became the world's greatest umbrella. Okay, let's dive right in.
It all kicks off with a pretty bold question. I mean, what does happen when a small child decides to stand up to one of the most powerful beings in the entire universe? Well, the answer is a story that people have been telling for ages. So, our story starts in this beautiful little village called Vrindavan. Life there is pretty idyllic. It revolves around their cows, the land, and of course traditions that have been around forever.
Every single year, like clockwork, the villagers perform this huge ceremony, an Indra yagna. It's all for the demigod Indra, who's basically the one in charge of the weather, and their logic was pretty simple. If we keep Indra happy, he'll send the rain we need for our crops and our precious cows. It was just what they did, no questions asked.
But this year, well, this year was different. This year, someone did have a question. A young boy, Krishna, sees all these big preparations and decides it's time to challenge the way things have always been done. So he goes up to his father, Nanda Maharaja, and very respectfully asks him what's going on. He's not trying to be a rebel, he's just curious. He's asking them to think a little deeper. You know, it's a question we still ask today. Why do we do the things we do? He just wanted to understand the reason behind the ritual, arguing that you get the best results when you act with knowledge.
And here is the absolute core of Krishna's argument. He basically says, look, why are we worshiping this distant demigod we've never even seen? Just look around you. Govardhana Hill gives us grass for our cows, it gives us clean water, it gives us herbs, it's right here. He wanted them to honor the very thing that was sustaining them every single day.
So he drops this bombshell. He tells them, let's take all this energy, all these offerings, and give them to Govardhana Hill instead of Indra. He wasn't just suggesting they change a ceremony. He was trying to shift their entire focus from some abstract idea in the sky to a real, tangible gratitude for the world right in front of them.
And you know what? It worked. The villagers were totally convinced. They listened to Krishna's logic, they canceled the ceremony for Indra, and they started preparing for the very first Govardhana Puja.
Krishna laid out a very specific plan. He said they should invite wise brahmanas to chant sacred hymns. But this new festival was all about celebrating the entire community. And that meant tons of delicious food, and it meant honoring their most important friends, the cows. But most importantly, everyone was invited to the feast, no exceptions.
And oh my goodness, what a feast it was! They cooked up so much food that it literally looked like a small mountain. We're talking savory rice, dal, pakoras, and just piles and piles of sweets like laddus and rasagullas. That's actually why the festival is also called Annakut, which literally means a mountain of food.
And then, something completely magical happened. To show the villagers that their worship was going to the right place, Krishna expanded himself into this huge divine form. He declared, "I am Govardhana Hill," and then proceeded to eat every last bit of that mountain of food. It was his way of showing them that, yes, their devotion was accepted.
But not everyone was celebrating. Way up in the heavens, King Indra looked down, realized his annual sacrifice had been canceled, and he was absolutely livid.
Indra's ego was just massively bruised. He didn't see this as some philosophical shift in the village, he took it as a personal insult. And in his rage, he decided the entire village had to be punished for daring to listen to this, as he called him, talkative, childish boy.
And his punishment, well, overkill doesn't even begin to cover it. Indra didn't just call for a regular rainstorm. No, he summoned the Samvartika clouds. These are the apocalyptic, universe-ending kind of clouds. He was about to unleash cosmic-level destruction on one tiny village.
The sky just turned black. The rain wasn't falling in drops, it was coming down in giant pillars, like columns of water. The wind was howling, the fields were flooding. It was terrifying. The villagers and all their animals were freezing and had nowhere to go, so they did the only thing they could. They ran to Krishna.
So as the villagers are desperately praying for help, for some kind of protection from Indra's fury, Krishna does something that nobody could have ever imagined.
So, Krishna just calmly walks over and as easily as a child picks up a mushroom. He lifts the entire Govardhana Hill straight up into the air. He holds it there, perfectly balanced on the tip of his little finger, and tells everyone to come on under.
For 7 straight days and 7 long nights, that apocalyptic storm just raged on. And for that entire time, every single person and animal from Vrindavana lived safely, comfortably, and completely dry under the mountain, totally protected by Krishna.
Up in the sky, Indra is watching all of this, and he just can't believe his eyes. His cosmic superweapon is doing absolutely nothing. His pride is completely shattered. He finally gets it. He hadn't challenged a little boy. He had challenged the Supreme Lord himself. So he calls off the storm, comes down to earth, and begs Krishna for forgiveness. And that incredible event, that whole story, is exactly why, thousands of years later, people are still celebrating this festival as a living, breathing tradition.
A really big part of the celebration today is something called Go Puja, which is the worship of cows. It goes right back to Krishna's original instructions. The cow is honored as a mother because she gives life-sustaining milk. This isn't just a sweet idea, it's recognizing how vital cows are to an agricultural way of life.
You know, it's interesting because in Vedic culture, the definition of a mother is really broad. They actually recognize 7 mothers, which includes not just your own mom, but also the earth, who gives us a home, the nurse, who cares for us, and right there on the list, the cow. And so, every single year around October or November, devotees all around the world recreate that very first feast. They build their own little mountains of food, they worship the cows, and they joyfully remember this amazing story of Krishna lifting the hill.
In the end, this whole story leaves us with a really powerful idea. Krishna taught the villagers to honor what directly sustained them: the hill, the forest, their cows. By protecting their local environment, they themselves were protected. So it kind of makes you ask, right? What sustains you in your life? Is it your family, your community, the planet? And what are you doing to sustain it in return?